All right, welcome everyone. I want to welcome you again to our Tampa Bay Business and Real Estate Professionals Network. We are interviewing members of our network as they have been visiting with our meetup. And today we're here with Jacob Bloch. Jacob started out working at Outfast Realty as one of the agents under Greg Simpson. And now he works at Westshore Financial. And so he's very real estate friendly, but he does financial advising work at Westshore Financial. So Jacob, if you'll take a few minutes just to tell us about yourself, introduce yourself, tell us about your business, and we'd love to hear more about that.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having me, Gary. So a little bit about myself is I'm from small town Illinois, from the middle of cornfields. Is pretty much, it's nowhere near Chicago, anything like that. And it was very much so that small town mindset, thinking of get your degree, go make 40K your first year, get your 401k, get married, settle down, have kids, and hopefully go on vacation once a year. Saw some stuff go on with my family, medically speaking, and people couldn't cut a check and couldn't provide. And me as a little brother, it was one of my sisters, one of my bonus sisters that went through that. Me as a little brother knew that there's more out there, and I just don't have access to the knowledge where I am. And everybody's happy and lives their life, but that opened my eyes to, I want bigger goals other than just the cars and the jewelry and the planes and whatever. That opened my eyes of, I want to provide. And so that led me down a path to, I needed to get to somewhere where that knowledge was. And I figured a bigger city would help with that. And then ideally that bigger city had palm trees. So Tampa checked both those boxes for me. Came down here and just kind of dabbled. Was in fitness at first. That was my biggest passion at the time, and stayed in fitness for about 5 years. Went and worked under Greg Simpson at Outfast Realty. Was an awesome experience, but what I also found out was real estate, as far as being an agent, just wasn't for me. I learned so many good things that's going to help me as I build my own real estate portfolio as well. Being there, he's a very investor-friendly broker as well. But at the same token, I went through probably the easiest sale of my life, and I was like, I just didn't enjoy that. And so if I stay here and chase the bag and don't prioritize people, because it's hard to do that in a place you're not passionate, that I felt that I wasn't going to serve his firm the best, and put his name out there the best. And so I walked away. I stayed in fitness, and I found myself helping a lot of, as I moved into management in the fitness world, helping a lot of people financially, whether it be simply explaining what the heck a 401k is, saving money to have an emergency fund, because I would see coaches that were 19 to 26 years old, making 60, 70, sometimes $80,000 at an age where that's not always typical to make that kind of money, especially in the personal training world. And they were just living paycheck to paycheck, regardless of if they're making 40K or 80K. And so I'd sit down with them and spend time, and it was anywhere near within my job description to do. But looking back at it, I knew that I was potentially changing someone's life to the moment they went through what I felt I was in when my sister got diagnosed with breast cancer. I knew that I could potentially be setting themselves up to be prepared for whatever that event is in their life that had them feeling the way I did when I was a broke college graduate, watching her go through that and being helpless. So naturally, I transitioned over into the finance world. I'm a financial representative here at Westshore Financial. In the grand scheme of things, we help people organize, protect, and build wealth. We don't care how you like to build wealth. I think a lot of financial representatives and other advisors and things like that kind of steer away from the real estate folk, because you're not making a fee off those assets under management or doors, so to speak. But it's an area I'm passionate about as well. I want to invest in real estate myself. I think being a full-fledged advisor someday and having that in my portfolio, I'll be able to help, a lot of people who don't get that help. And when you're getting started out in real estate, when you're building your portfolio, you have to wear so many freaking hats, and
Mm.
you have to figure it all out. And I don't think that necessarily ever goes away. You're an entrepreneur, and you're in a point where you're the type of person that you chose to go into an industry that your back is going to be against the wall several times in probably several different ways all at one time.
Mhm.
And you have to figure a way to get out of that, and get out of that corner and solve that stuff. And so, as a financial representative, I just want to help people organize to take advantage of opportunities, as well. It's, if we're saving up, and I know a lot of people, start out with the $0 down or look for investors, and they someday want to be that person who is fully funding their own deal, still getting in at zero down or whatever else. But be able to go through those and be prepared to take advantage of opportunities. If you're flipping a property or you're looking for long-term rentals or whatever it is, and those hiccups come, that we have some cash set aside to prepare for that, or we have some strategies in place to prepare for that. At the end of the day, I think all of our goals are to buy back our time,
Mm.
and with that, it's, let's protect this huge, massive thing that we're building. Let's make sure that we can't have something come out of left field, like a sickness, or an injury that completely derails us. What happens when life throws those curveballs at us, and how can we insulate ourselves as best possible, whether it be, tax rates. I know are a big hot button topic right now with
Yeah.
being an election year.
Yeah.
Um, and then also just grow wealth. I don't care how people want to grow wealth, whether you want to, do it through the stock market, whether you want to do it through real estate. Heck, like if you know enough about Rolexes and you want to flip Rolexes, doesn't matter. But we want to have some safe things on our balance sheet, as well as some protections in place, that no matter how you build your wealth, that
Uh-huh.
you have a clear path and you have guidance. And
That's awesome. Yeah.
the biggest
Let me
thing
ask you this.
yeah.
Did I hear you correctly that you said that your first sale as a realtor is right after your first sales when you decided you didn't want to do that anymore?
Oh yeah. And it was, so Greg actually called me up, and I made him the smallest chunk of money that I've made him more money than an agent that's at least never sold a deal has made him. But at the same token, here I was with somebody who, he has all these other projects going on.
Mhm.
And I did one deal in probably 6 months or so. It was one of my clients in the gym. I had 3 clients in the gym because I was a manager, so I didn't need to take on too many clients anymore. My general manager was the one selling the property, and I was just bringing it up to her because she was an agent, and she was like, "My daughter's looking for a home just like that." I hadn't listed it, I hadn't taken pictures, I hadn't bought signs, nothing. And it was about a week after I had actually gotten the client.
Uh-huh.
Week after I got, my general manager to agree to list his property with me. And I was just mentioning it to her that I was going through this process, and she's like, "Can we go look at it before you put it on the market?" Went and looked at it, did kind of one back and forth about something that they wanted corrected with the home or a
Mhm.
price. They accepted the price we offered, everything. Easiest deal of my life. Greg actually called me up when he heard I was leaving, because I was like, it's not worth his time for me to go to him and quit to him. Like, his
Uh-huh.
assistant can deal with this. It's paperwork. Um, and he called me up in the moment, probably within 3 hours of me quitting. He called me up, and he's always driving. And he just was just like, "Hey man, like what's going on?" And it had probably a 45-minute conversation with me, which shows to his character.
Yeah.
Just like, someone's leaving and all
That's just
that.
so odd that you're like, hey, yeah, I completed a deal. And
Yeah.
most people be like, yeah, let's go, let's get another one. But you're like, no, not for me. That's
Yep.
great.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you make the jump from helping people with their finances and stuff into West Shore? You know,
Yeah.
that's like so now you're making that your business. So how did you make that jump? Tell me a little bit about that transition.
So like I said, I helped a lot of the coaches, when I was a manager there, of just, how do we systematically put ourselves in a place that we're saving money, that we can, potentially begin to invest in the 401k. Because let's be honest, all they're watching is TikToks and Instagrams on, Bitcoin and Dogecoin and whatever
Hmm.
else. And those are very emotional investments to go
Yeah.
into for your first investment. Do I think they're bad? No. Do what you want with your money.
Hmm.
However, it's an emotional roller coaster if you're going to jump into that stuff. Or when GameStop happens, and I would always hear him talk about whatever stock that is going on in social media at the time. And I'm like, okay, like do those things, but let's have something a little bit safer over here,
Mm-hmm.
um, that we can go on. And I was just always like finance was the first thing I found that I was actually interested in studying. Every year that I went back to college in my 4-year degree, I was just like, what am I here for? Even though at the time I wanted to be a cop, and I was like, what am I actually getting this education for? What is it providing me?
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself doing a lot of research on my own, just into finance. And so without a finance degree, being fully honest, now granted, you have to get a license anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
one of those things, doesn't matter if you have a degree or not. I was just like, you know what, let me start applying places. And I applied at certain firms. And as a manager in the past, I've done enough interviews to read between the lines on the questions you're asking. Not that I'm
Mm-hmm.
the perfect interviewer or anything. And I'm at an age, I feel like I've reached this age earlier where I'm not going to bullshit somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and answer just because I want to get hired. I'm going to tell you the truth. And if you don't want me, this probably wasn't the good place for me
Mm-hmm.
to be anyway. And I just felt the questions coming through at a lot of these firms were very salesy, very pushy, very product focused.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met with Westshore, and it was honestly kind of one of the last places that I was like, you know what, maybe finance isn't for me. And I sat down and they're like, here's our process. Here's how we help people. And the first meeting, I'm used to sitting down with somebody and going through a workout and then pitching them a price at the end, and the sell being at the end of that hour.
Mm-hmm.
And in our first meeting, it's all about, here's what our process looks like. Let's discuss your goals, and not just retirement goals. Let's discuss the life you actually want to live, and how we can use the money that you're currently making. And your money should go up, but we can't, guarantee that's going to happen. But with the money you're currently making, how can we make these goals come to fruition? How do we put a plan together to make sure the next 40 years of your life happen? Let's not just focus on the last 20 years of your life. And during that interview process, I actually had to ask, like, okay, I love the process. Like, we're not pitching anything at the end of the first meeting. We're just
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out, like, do you feel that this process would be beneficial for you? And do I think that you would be a good client for me? Because not everybody will.
Right.
Um, and by the end of that, I had to ask them, like, I love the process, and you guys just went straight and entirely into how we help clients. I just got to ask, though, like, how the heck am I paid? Because I got to put food on my table too, and I got goals that I want to accomplish too. And it was kind of a breath of fresh air that it was so client focused that
Mm-hmm.
that's what really brought me to Westshore, and that's what kept me in finance, to be honest.
Interesting. So what do you enjoy most about that profession in finance?
The biggest thing is just like helping people realize how close their goals are to actually happening. For the most part, you got some longer term goals. You just graduate college, want to buy a home. That's going to take some time to save up, whatever it may be. If it's like your primary residence, or you want to start a business, we need to bring the right people to those tables.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the value that I can bring to other people, we try to position ourselves like, Gary, if you're our client, you're the owner of your financial team. I'm simply the head coach and the quarterback running the plays that you're saying, but I'm going to be that boots on the ground knowledge, because the owner of the Cowboys, Jerry, whatever, he's not calling plays on the field. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have that knowledge.
Oh,
And
I think
so,
he wish he could.
yeah, he was probably a bad example. I just don't know. He's always in the public eye, so I remember his name. I don't know any other
Jerry
owners.
Jones, yeah.
Jerry Jones, yeah. But even if we don't have the knowledge of, like, an estate attorney, like, we don't provide those resources, but we have estate
Mm-hmm.
attorneys that work with our clients. We've seen their work. We can bring those people to the table. And so when I can sit down with somebody and be like, no, we don't have an income problem. We don't have a spending problem. Here's how to maintain the standard of living you already have. And here's how to put a plan in place and the stepping stones to get us to these goals. And we can put now timelines on these. We can be protected with, as simple thing as like an emergency fund. I
Mm-hmm.
remember blowing my tire the first time I moved down to Tampa, and I was living off my credit card, and I finally saved up enough money for these shoes that were popular. I blew my tire on the way there. And I was just like, that derailed my plan, right? Because I didn't have an emergency fund. So
Mm-hmm.
now when you have an emergency fund and these little things pop up in our life, they don't derail us. And we can still look forward and be like, my goals are still going to come true, even though I blew my tire on the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
And that hopefully I can put somebody in a situation where the only, worry they have is how freaking hot it is outside to go
Yeah.
change their tire, not the money it's going to take. So just seeing that aha moment with my clients and having them be like, oh, like I can go on vacation once a year. Like here's just this plan on how to systematically and intentionally save my money and get there.
Right, right. What do you believe separates you and your company from the competition?
I think it's kind of cliche to say, but simply our process. Like I said, the end of our first meeting, we're determining whether we're a good fit together.
Hmm.
And our goals are the number one thing. I've used an advisor, my wife and I, in the past ourselves. I don't think I could necessarily sit down and ask him what our goals are and him be able to regurgitate those back unless they were goals that tied to him making money.
Hmm.
I think that he's done a good job. I don't think he's a bad person by any means. I think that he just wasn't kind of taught the ways that we're taught here at our agency. And I think the
Hmm.
fact that we start off every single meeting with reevaluating somebody's goals, we're not going to sit down and throw somebody's money into an IRA off the rip that's going to put your money behind a padlock and lock it in a cage. And now my paycheck's secured.
Hmm.
And you don't want to touch that money up till retirement. We're sitting down and planning around the toys you want to buy. What kind of car do you want to buy? What kind of home that you want to buy? What are all things that I'm never going to make a dime on?
Hmm.
But it's an abundant mindset type of thing to see their lives truly happen and them not feeling restricted. I don't want you to
Nice.
cut back on things. I want you to have an emergency fund first before we're investing to because your 401k is not going to put dinner on your table because your spouse and your kids are hungry, but your
Hmm.
emergency fund is. No matter what happens in your life, you get laid off, you change careers, you blow a tire.
Hmm. Nice. So, what advice would you give someone just starting out in your business in financial advising?
Just starting out, reach out to people that love and care about you.
Hmm.
Don't book them and be salesy, anything like that. Just say, hey, I'd love to show you what I'm doing. See if it would be a benefit to anybody that you know. So that because the more people that know about what you're doing, the more
Hmm.
people that can possibly reach out. And the best people to do that are the people that love and care about you. And
Yeah.
don't shoot just for a close and be like, I love everything. Like the people that love and care about you know you just started this thing. Uh,
Hmm.
but reaching out to them at the same time, soaking in as much knowledge as possible. Like there is no end game, just like real estate, to the knowledge that you can have because the moment you think you know everything, tax rates change because every
Hmm.
4 years somebody else is coming in office. And on a simple note, just like that, or some law changes, and then now that affects how different accounts are going to kind of react. So, continuously learn, but lean in on the people that you love and care about. Reach out to them, let them know what you do, ask them to meet with you just to see what you do. Don't
Yeah.
necessarily try to sell everybody that you know. And if your process is good, they're probably going to become a client anyway. But
Hmm.
now you did it from the mindset of you you have to use the people that you know to get to the people they know.
Hmm.
Because if you do such a good job too, is treat every client like they're your own client. If
Right.
you do that, like how can I create such a good experience that I don't have to ask for a referral? That you're like, hey, can you work with someone like this? And you're just like, I'd love to meet with them and see if I can help.
Yeah.
They want to offer up that stuff and just make that one person feel like they are the only person in the world that you're talking to.
Good. Good. What's the one thing you would do with your business if you knew that you could not fail?
If I knew I couldn't fail, um, I'd probably reach out to people who are kind of because like I just got done mentioning kind of my natural market, but everyone, no matter what industry, you have that kind of it's like one step up. Who's
Hmm.
that first millionaire client, the first billionaire client, my first duplex I'm going to invest into, my first multifamily, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Um, taking that leap and making that phone call, making that connection, just building rapport with that person, and then asking. You can't
Hmm.
you can't help someone if you don't ask somebody at some point, especially when it's something that you do and a service you provide.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
probably taking more of a leap of faith on kind of something that I feel like this water might be getting a little deep for me right now, but knowing that I have the full backing and my team here that has the knowledge to
Hmm.
support
Hmm.
that and bring them in to help.
Nice. So, what do you see as coming trends in the financial advising business?
Coming trends. I think there's going to be some hurdles. Obviously, finance includes everything from, your insurances and things like that. I think some coming trends are going to be, whatever happens in the market. I think that this is kind of a cyclical thing we kind of saw in 2008 with market shifts and things like that. I think that there's always going to be market shifts. So like 2001, 2008, we had COVID. Every 10 years there's some shift, and so you're going to get that new generation that just got into investing and then gets spooked because whatever the next event's going to be. So I think that cyclical thing is going to keep happening, as well as you keep seeing different types of products like on the insurance side, on life insurance, you see IULs and stuff like that. And I think right now there's such a heavy focus on just going into things like finance, and when you're just a life insurance agent and then your firm only teaches you a certain amount. And I think there's going to be some things that kind of happen because there's a lot of young kids that are getting into that field and just slinging things around. And I think there's going to be a lot of bad things that happen if these policies don't last. And now you need this policy because, I pass away and my wife was relying on my income and I was sold something that doesn't have any value anymore. And then now that causes a lot of pain in that family. So I see on the downward trend, I see that kind of going. At the same token, I think every generation's a little bit different. Every generation looks at the new generation coming in and they're like, what are you doing? I think because of technology, the good side to the TikTok and Instagram and things like that, I see a heck of a lot more people interested in building their wealth through getting their money to make more money. And whether they're investing because they're flipping Pokemon cards that have value, like if you're knowledgeable in it, go do it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I see a lot more of the people who are interested in investing, whether it be real estate, whether it be stocks. And I think that the younger generation is going to take risks and is going to help, this country move forward and accomplish a lot of things.
Interesting. All right. So what one sentence would you like people to use in describing the way that you do business?
I guess I don't know about sentence, but I just think ethical. Is that, if they were to describe me or something that, that they'll always look and be like, Jake Bloch will always do the ethical and moral thing.
That's a good sentence right there.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Jake Bloch will always do the ethical and moral thing. That's good stuff. And then how do I know someone that I'm talking to is going to be a good referral for you?
Absolutely. So, kind of my ideal client would be someone who is in real estate. I think it's a very underlooked at market, which means they're underhelped. They could use someone who can bring to the table the estate planning attorney, the mortgage broker, the agent who's experienced in investing, whatever it may be. And we have those resources. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. Could you ask that question one more time too, please?
Just how do we know someone's a perfect referral for you?
Oh yeah, someone who's in real estate probably already has 3 to 5 doors. I love helping people who are building and still chasing that dream, still hungry. So they have 3 to 5 doors, whether it's 3 to 5 doors of experience with flipping and they only currently have 1 right now, or they're more on the short-term, long-term rental and they have 3 to 5 doors. So they're kind of building. They're a little bit nervous about taking that leap and now going full-time real estate because they have a spouse and kids who rely on them. So someone who's married with kids, loves their family, and they're in that point of they're nervous. They're about to take that step and cut the umbilical cord away from their W-2 and could use that person who comes in and doesn't have all their emotions tied in on those finances and says, hey, here's our path. Here's when we can take that leap. And I'm here every step of the way.
All right, good. So tell us, how can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
Absolutely. The best way to get in touch with me, go on LinkedIn and search Jacob Bloch. That's probably the best way. The next best way would be my email, jacob.bloch, BLOCH, at westshorefinancial.com.
Okay. So email or LinkedIn. So great. Well, hey man, I've really enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more and know more about your path and sort of how you got to where you are. So this is great. Hope everyone enjoyed that. And I just wanted to say also another way you may be able to meet Jacob is if you come to the Business and Real Estate Professionals Network of Tampa. We meet the second Tuesday of every month at the Dave and Buster's and that's the east side of town. It's close to Brandon. It's East Tampa. Don't go to the Dave and Buster's bar downtown because you'll be in the wrong place. But we meet the second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. and we will be there again this upcoming next Tuesday. So actually, so 2 Tuesdays from now we'll be there. So all right. So hopefully we'll see you there, and we'll see everyone else as well.
Thank
Take
you. I
care.
appreciate it, Gary.
All right.